welcome to a very special show called Steps Towards M-Engagement. M-Engagement stands for mobile engagement. In a world where there are trillions of mobile messages, petabytes of data, millions and billions of mobile application downloads, it's really a veritable mobile tsunami. In such a complex environment, how does one leverage this emerging medium which has so much potential? I have with me a very elite panel. This panel is going to be discussing how businesses need to explore, gear up and get ready to take on the future, which will be a mobile populated future. Let me introduce my panel to you. On my right, I have Vishwanath Alluri. On my left, it is Shashi Shankar and Nilanjan Mukherjee. Let me start to my left with Shashi. How would you define M-engagement?
If you look at consumers today, the way they interact with brands, interact with products and services, a number of occasions they do it offline, and a number of these interactions are going to now move online, and more online in terms of mobile. And both consumers and brands need to realize that there is a very different mindset of engaging with consumers on the mobile. And that is why we need to have a new way of engaging with the consumers on the mobile. Right,
right. I'm going to put it to you, Vishwanath. I believe, your business is really about how you can get network operators, look at engaging industry, that is B2B more than B2C.
The mobile phone is distinctly different from the earlier landline, not just because it is mobile, but it is data capable. So how do I bring in the utility of this data channel across various businesses for their business productivity, for engaging with their customers, for working with their field force in a more automated way. So this is an all-round thing actually.
Nilanjan, if you can throw some light on, where we are exactly in terms of evolution in M-engagement, I mean in India, and if I had to ask you to juxtapose it to, let's say, the West and the more developed economies.
If earlier 5 years ago you were doing various things in your life in their dedicated channel, which means you were using a credit card for buying stuff, you were going to a movie hall and watching a movie, and then you were watching television, and then you were going to a bank to do your banking transaction. Going forward 5 years from now, the simple mobile can actually do all of it.
Right.
So the entire scope of engagement is very ubiquitous. And as Vish said, that with data enabled and with 3G and emerging technologies like 4G and all, with the data pie fatter and fatter, with phone, real estate of the screen becoming larger and larger, it will be, possible to recreate all that on the phone screen. If you take the West, like in 2010, the number of minutes an US consumer was spending in front of the web screen was something like about 70 minutes, and with the phone for mobile data application it was 40. In 1 year's time, the data application mobile has jumped from 40 to 80, whereas the time spent in front of the web has gone up by 10 or 12 minutes.
Where do we stand today, Shashi, in terms of this entire evolution?
As Nilanjan said, we are just shade behind the Western world in terms of getting engagement of consumers to that extent. But what is happening is, I think a number of number of entrepreneurs are really actually working on various models and ecosystem to be able to provide the consumer with higher and higher engagement on the mobile space. Now, advertising is one area where both the media side of the business and brands are looking very actively as to how can I engage a mobile consumer on the mobile, and what are the things that they need to incorporate in their own marketing mix to be able to reach the mobile consumer at a very personal level.
If you can throw some light on how M-engagement can actually in turn increase business productivity and efficiency for businesses, For instance, we know that a lot of FMCG companies, a lot of multinationals are using mobile devices to actually track inventory management, for instance.
We have studied across 6,000 business enterprises who are using this service. There is an increasing trend to use this mobile medium for business productivity, for engaging with their customers, for engaging with their employees and various other purposes. But one of the key factors that will drive the usage will be how network operators will open up their network intelligence, the network resources, to businesses as programmable resources. This is going to be the key factor that will drive engagement in the coming years. And within that, I must state that you need a open mobile data service platform. Once we have it, then enterprises and businesses will find it much easier to mobile enable their applications. Then the mobile technology can be demystified. They did not go to various operators to do this kind of connectivity, the commercial arrangements and various etc. etc.
Right. Would you agree with that, Nilanjan? Would you look at it as more of an academic suggestion that possibly can't, implement itself in the future because collaboration is a bit difficult?
So I think, there will be competitive nature, but I think we all operators have to collaborate to do what's good. In the end, the user experience, the simplicity of the services, the user friendliness and all will demonstrate the success of it. In any innovation field, I think it's better to be first time right than first in the marketplace. So, it's I would be guided by simplicity and delight in user experience rather than, speed in this process. I don't know what's your view, Sashi.
I agree with him, but there is obviously a definite need for operators to use that network intelligence to their own advantage and benefit. It's not going to be possible for us to just hand it over to somebody to, at the end of it, the developers and application providers bring a certain expertise and skill to the table. And we as network providers obviously need to work along with them to be able to create something which a consumer is looking forward to. Yeah. And that is something which we should work together and do it.
By open platform, I meant to, I think Nilanjan had a different angle to that. I didn't mean that all of them should come on open one platform and, throw away their competitive nature of the business. That's not what I meant. Actually, a network operator himself, one operator, if he allows, let us say, an insurance company, it wants to send promotional messages to males age group between 25 and 40 who are paying monthly 1,000 rupees of bill. They expect better yield for their promotions. Then what happens now, the insurance company gets a better value for money, and network operator can earn much more money than what he otherwise would earn for a mere passage of a SMS message. It could be much higher value. Now it's in paise, but it could be in rupees. So this is what I'm talking of. First, I'm not referring to bringing all, democratize the entire ecosystem, operator networks, but even one operator opens up, depending on the profile of his subscribers, he can earn a good value for money.
Fair enough.
One of the this thing we have to remember from a subscriber point of view, and I'm sure you use a mobile service. One of the thing as we go richer and richer, in content is it's also a very intrusive medium.
Sure.
So if you are not pushing these services which are opted in by customers, and if there's no very easy way for a customer to opt out of this, so the entire thing has to be voluntary from a subscriber's relevance point of view. And if it's not, then we've seen what mobile operators have done to consumer experience by inundating with Bollywood messages to this thing. So that's something in future we have to be very careful as to how do you create a user experience which is relevant to the user and not a one-way push. Because I have the gateway, I keep pushing.
That's a very important point that's come up. I mean, pull versus push on engagement, and that's precisely what we're going to be discussing when we come back after the short break. Stay tuned. Welcome back. You've tuned into a special show called Steps Towards M-Engagement. Now, just before we left you, we were discussing the evolving ecosystem on the mobile and where India stands in the entire engagement scheme of things. So just to take that forward, worldwide, everybody seems to be having a debate on how do you engage your consumer? Is it push? Is it pull? I'd like your view as, the CMO of IDEA.
I think we need to create the relevant level of awareness for the kind of services and the products and services that we are able to provide. And after that, it is left to the consumer to actually seek and engage with the product or the brand. While there will be a certain level of push from the brand side or from the manufacturer side in terms of putting that information out there in terms of what his product is all about, at the end of the day, he needs to generate a certain level of curiosity and motivation at the consumer level to be able to, for him to come and seek that information through the mobile space.
Right. I want to move away and talk about, money transactions on the mobile. According to your research, your experience, how have money transactions really evolved?
It's nothing much to really talk about. I think it's a question of security, the trust. You can see how much people are able to use their credit cards and internet in India. So it's much less in mobile. However much bankers are trying to promote, but still it's all about transactional messages like this your account is debited, credited. This kind of information is very much in vogue today. But if you really ask to money transfer on mobile, I think it's nothing much to reckon with.
Right, so it's still in its nascent stage,
yes.
Very nascent. How about purchasing online, Shashi? We've seen that phenomena really take off on the web, on your PC, on your laptop. How do you see it panning out in the future in terms of buying products, actual, shopping on the mobile?
See, whatever is happening online or on the web is bound to move to mobile because it's that much more convenient, and as and when the broadband services get launched, even in more prevalent manner, it will definitely move to the mobile because you are with the mobile 24/7, and as and when you feel the need for buying something and you feel the need for consuming something, you will approach the mobile and seek to do that. But I think what is more important and what will happen is more and more product comparisons, more and more product demonstrations can happen through the mobile itself. For example, if you take a car manufacturer who brings out an advertisement in a newspaper, typically today if you look at any car advertisement, you will see that there is a QR code which is there at the corner, and normally it is anybody who has a smartphone and is capable of doing that will actually go there and try it out in terms of understanding what exactly the car has to offer.
Right. Do you see companies gearing up for the future, because this is clearly one domain that is all poised to explode? How do you see companies gearing up? Do you or do you not? And if not, what do you propose companies should do in preparation to harness this medium?
I think we have got to look at in a broader way here. The wave of technology that is sweeping the whole world, actually, as against the earlier 2 decades, today it's about cloud, mobile, social. As against earlier is hardware and software, computing powers, and software you bought licenses and you capex and you started using that. It was a fashion, if you were to buy a big ERP system or a big, risk processor or whatever it is. But today there's no more fashion, actually. Today, if you should be using on a cloud, on a not on capex but on a pay-as-you-go model, and use mobile medium in your business, and also social. Keeping these 3 in mind, mobile network operators are holding certain secret sauce, according to me. Because, as I can see, Nilanjan and Shashi, they are very much, obviously that is their DNA. It has to be there because they are always concerned about the consumer experience, their user experience. That is correct, actually. But at the same time, how do they bring larger players into the ecosystem to exploit the mobile medium?
Right. Would you like to respond to the secret sauce?
I don't know about the secret sauce, but definitely the operators also need to do a lot more work in terms of actually, enhancing that intelligence which Vish has been talking about, in terms of getting the demographics of the consumers even more fine-tuned and even more in detail. Currently, we do have a certain number of information and data about the consumers and about their usage and other such things. But I think operators also need to invest in enhancing that knowledge far more than what we already have. Then we'll really have the secret sauce.
Right. Nilanjan, what do companies have to do to gear up to kind of harness this this great potential this medium offers?
See, I think one is segmentation is profit. So we operators will be dumb to deny segmentation, but segmentation is also relevance to the to really the the group of customers they're hitting out. I think what is the operator's role? The operator first of all has to create a network experience which is superlative, so that when you're using data services, it's an experience worth cherishing. Second, the operator needs to know the customer well, and India deals with 900 million consumers. You're dealing with a large database size to really get into creating a data mart of a very sophisticated mean, because the size of the database is huge. So you have to first segment which part do you want to know them well and start establishing that. Third, I think if you take any say European, take 100% penetrated market, where really innovation comes in is you have a lot of MVNOs who really come with very deep segmented insights. So if you are a MVNO which gives insurance for your car policy, you can offer something which an operator will not, because the operator is always broadband thinking, large consumer base and all. So I think the evolution will happen when you have an ecosystem of people who really eat, live, breathe that medium, and then start creating the sub-blocks of experience where you start talking to your, even if you take what's big in the internet space, things like Facebook and all, user-generated content.
Right.
It's huge because I am, creating relevance to my subgroup.
Right.
I don't think an operator can tomorrow create, 100,000, very relevant experience in all these spaces.
Well, on that note, we're going to take a short break. But when we come back, we're going to be discussing the challenges of M-engagement and what's the way forward. Stay tuned. Welcome back. You've tuned into a special show called Steps Towards M-Engagement. And now, for the last part of the show, I'm going to ask the panelists to discuss and throw open to the floor the challenges they face in this entire ecosystem of M-engagement. Starting with you, Shashi, challenges you face in actual implementation.
I think the biggest challenge that we face is the devices and the availability of devices which can actually enhance the engagement experience with the consumer. The number of smartphones which are being sold in the country is approximately 1.2, 1.3 million per month. And as and when the smartphone prices go down, we hope that this number is going to really blossom and explode. And once that happens, I think there will be a lot more opportunities, there will be a lot more innovations, there will be a lot more chances of us collaborating with various platform providers and entrepreneurs to be able to get that engagement level really pushed to the consumer.
Right, right. Nilanjan?
See, I think the first challenge at a mental level is the challenge of impatience. So, first of all, we always want to jump into the, first to launch. And I think we have to pause and look at it from a consumer relevance point of view. We have to bunch them into, logical groups of entertainment and, productivity and so on and so forth. I completely agree with Sashi that the penetration of smartphone with the correct pricing will obviously, that's an enabler, that's the hardware. If you don't have it, you're not going to engage anyway. I think the challenge of creating an ecosystem which is open for any and everybody to, come and plug their application and reach out to consumers. At the same time, keep the security of the network and all the firewall issues and the secure consumer, privacy issues. That's one. And fourth is, for m-commerce point of view, there are challenges of how quickly the RBI will, open it and let the operators really, step in. So it all depends on, the entire ecosystem, and I think it will all fall in place with all the operators coming together.
You heard their challenges out as, network operators. So if I could ask you to throw some light on, solutions, possible solutions to overcome and actually give an impetus to, M engagement.
The approach should be that if operators can tweak their perspective slightly, that is, you see, mostly they use consumers as their customers. You got to look at, for a moment, look at businesses as your customers, how they can use for their businesses. If you slightly shift the, your eye to the right side, then you look at them, they are the customers. So they can exploit, and you can have like ARPUs they are talking, ARPU from each, how much each subscriber pays. Now you can also create a new segment of ARPUs, how much each business can pay. Each business may pay 50,000, 1 lakh, or 5 lakh, 10 lakh, 50 lakhs may be there per month. This kind of potential exists according to me. So there's a slight tweak in the perspective, I think is the simple approach to the complex problem.
It will at least trigger it, you're saying, trigger the growth of M engagement. Would you agree with him?
I think it's not all up in the cloud. I mean, with 3G, you can have actually cameras in every street corner, and you can actually predict Bombay, which route to take. Though I don't know in Mumbai, all of them may be congested. But then today, there are real-life applications which can be, there are things like where can I get parking, which route do I take, and they are all enabled in the... So I think these are the things. We have to mix the evolved, find out what's there as a feature anyway. Sure. But we've got to make a lot of relevance in a normal person's life to actually engage him with the device in things which solve and make his life richer. So it's not always about, doing the absolutely esoteric alpha new service, which actually happens simultaneously in the US market. And so if iPhone 5 is going to come out, it's going to come out in India within 2 weeks, and the geeks over here will exploit as much from an iPhone 5 as they do in US. But it's also about how do you involve 100, 200, 500 million consumers to give a far better life experience, and those are the kind of solutions which operators need to, embark on.
No, I agree with Nilanjan that I wish I could give him some more light on the management of consumers' experiences. As a company, we have always been fashioned ourselves as a partner of mobile operator. So first we started with VAS, now we are talking of a new initiative of a mobile data platform. So we are, all the time tying our fortunes with that of an operator. So we are more at the, as a technology partner, more as a B2B player. That was one of the constraints I have to throw more light on consumer experience.
No problem.
You can actually bid for a spectrum and become an operator. It's coming round the corner.
Well, on that note, I'd really like to take the opportunity and thank all the panelists. Thank you so much for joining us and engaging in this very interesting conversation on mobile engagement. With that, it's a wrap on the show. Thanks for watching.